Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. My name is John Schwartz. I'm an Associate Athletic Director and Sports Information Director here at Case Western Reserve University, and welcome to our first day of Media Week here at Case Western Reserve University. And we'll be talking with all of our fall sports teams. Again, a little bit of the lay of the land and what's certainly an unusual environment, but really happy to be joined today by a number of members of the team, of the women's soccer team, who will be starting things off with. We have our head coach, Jen Simonetti, senior goalkeeper turned student assistant coach, Lauren Metz, junior goalkeeper, Jenna Riccolo, and senior defender, Bailey George. Ladies, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it and welcome. And Coach, let's start off with you here. If you can, just give us a little bit of an opening statement and tell us what you want the world to know about your team and what you think about your team, certainly at least heading into this year before, obviously the season was canceled.
Yeah, we returned a lot of really talented, committed, hardworking players that have done a lot to change the culture of the program over their time here. They've shown a lot of dedication, even within the pandemic and being sent home in regards to putting the work in and really building for this fall. So it was great to see over the spring and over the summer, even when we couldn't be together. We've added a very passionate, enthusiastic, and talented group of first years and transfers to the mix that is definitely really going to create this high level of competition and fun throughout the season, despite not having an NCAA season or a UAA season. We're really excited just to kind of build off of the momentum we started in 2019 by finding some success with wins in conference and NCAA bid. And we're really looking for a better record in the UAA, another bid to the NCAA tournament, and even some wins in that tournament going forward on a consistent basis. So obviously it's going to look a bit different now, but I think everybody that's a part of the program right now has really put the work in and the effort in, and they're still committed to what we're looking to build. We're just pushing the timeline back a little bit.
Thanks, Coach. I want to talk to the players here real quick, and Bailey, we'll start with you on this one. But all three of you have been here for your entire collegiate careers now, and you guys made a big jump last year. Talk about, Bailey, if you can, just that feeling of making that jump and being successful. Does it kind of create like a feeling like, hey, we could do this. We belong in the upper echelon of Division III teams.
Absolutely. My freshman year coming in was completely different from where it is now. I don't even know our record from our freshman year. I know it was not as good as it was last year. And that feeling of making it to the NCAA double tournament was amazing. I've never had anything like that, and highlighted my career for sure.
Lauren, I'll follow up with you on that as well, because obviously you were a part of that too. Talk about the jump you were able to make as a team to get to where you were last year.
Yeah, so obviously my freshman and sophomore year, we had a different coach, and then we went through a transition, and that was kind of pretty seamless, and the team really came together, and kind of we had like a big change, and I think our mentality and our ability to compete with the other teams in the UAA and making it to the NCAA last year was really a great experience, and I'm really glad that I got to experience that in my time here still. And obviously we still have a lot of work left to do, and we're going to keep kind of progressing that way.
Jen, I'll throw it over to you. Same question. Thoughts on the team heading into this year, building off of last year, and what you think you could have accomplished?
Yeah, I think last year was a really great transition point for us. Coming in with an entirely new coaching staff, we had a lot of opportunities to grow and kind of have a fresh staff that believed in us and allowed us to believe in ourselves. So I think there was a great chance for this year to have an extremely strong season as we did last year, but still being able to train and be on campus together gives us a really great opportunity to make a lot of progress moving towards next fall and potentially this spring as well. So I think that's what we really have our eyes on at this point.
Thanks, Jen. And by the way, do want to mention that you can ask us questions if you're tuning in just now. Feel free to jump on the chat on the YouTube page, and we'll be taking some questions from fans out there as well. Kind of a fun little twist for today. But Coach, I'm going to throw it back to you real quick. Obviously, it's a unique fall. You're used to playing games, 2-3 games a week sometimes. you don't have the games right now. You are planning on having some practices throughout the year at the very least. Talk a little bit about what your plan is for the fall, and then what you hope to gain from this kind of odd looking fall right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of teams obviously went through the same thing in the spring, where you lose that season where you really get to connect and work on different things than just trying to win the next game. So we're really obviously trying to continue fostering our competitive and growth-based training on the field. So we're going to be practicing, working with our T3 strength and conditioning coaches a couple times a week throughout the fall. But we're in a unique situation. So we actually have, I guess, what you can consider more free time, since soccer won't be taking up every day of their lives all fall. And we're using that for a few different things this year. The first is to get to know each other on a more intimate level. I'm new as a coach, and I haven't really been able to spend the type of time I want with the players to build our relationships on an individual level. So we're going to work on that. I also think it's important for us to understand each other on a deeper level, to understand our backgrounds, where we came from, the experiences we've had. And I think that kind of ties in with what's going on in society now. We want to be focused on being inclusive, creating a culture that is inclusive and for diversity. We also want to be supportive of social injustice and fight for social injustice. So we want to make sure that we can create our team vibe in regards to that, and then hopefully bring it out to our campus community as well as our Cleveland community. And then the final thing that, got cut down in the spring was our opportunity to really put some time into some volunteerism. All of our projects were canceled in the spring. So we're hoping to do that with some of our, free time this fall, working with the Cleveland Food Bank, creating a pen pal system with some nursing homes. And one of our rising juniors, Greta, has put a lot of time into creating those connections for us through some discussions. So that's what we're going to be focusing on this fall, as well as obviously creating, a competitive environment to be successful next fall. But we've got a long way to go for that.
Thanks. And Lauren, I'll throw this to you, because this is, it's a pretty ambitious fall, coach. And you said it's not something you'd be able to do in a typical circumstance. You have this additional free time. So Lauren, as a senior on this team, if you can, for those who are listening out there and may not know, talk about what the life of a student athlete at Case Western Reserve University looks like. I don't think most people realize the commitment that you have to make on top of just, going out there and playing the game. Can you talk about kind of time commitment towards both athletics and academics at Case Western Reserve?
Yeah, so I think as a Case student athlete, we definitely all take a lot of pride in our athletics as well as our student life. And, we put a lot of time into our studies and our academics. And usually with our season, we're on the road traveling to different places, and we're all kind of together studying, and we sometimes have to take exams on the road and stuff like that. So it's definitely a lot of balance and a lot of work that goes into being able to be a student athlete. So I feel like going into this fall, we're kind of experiencing kind of a change in that, but there's obviously still a lot of balance that has to go on, even with being virtual and having practices and lists still.
Jenna, I'll ask you the next question. Obviously, I'm going off book here. I apologize in advance. I sent everyone out a list of questions. I'm already thinking of more to ask you. So we're putting you on the spot here. But Jenna, I want to ask you this, and obviously, you have an opportunity to work on, not just some of these other things, but also in terms of the game, some individual things that probably you wouldn't get a chance to work on in the normal course of the practice. Is there something you plan on in terms of soccer really focusing on when you head into the fall here, trying to improve going forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think this summer I had the opportunity to be in Cleveland, so that was really helpful, because even though everyone was kind of split up, there was a great core group of people that were here, which gave me the opportunity to be able to play a bit and then to train with some people too. So gave me a lot of motivation in terms of working out, when that motivation started to kind of trend downwards just because of the way our season had headed and the fact that a lot of things got canceled. But in terms of this fall, I'm really looking to just take advantage of the fact of the matter that we could all be together and take advantage of a lot of the strength and conditioning opportunities we're going to have when we transition back into play this year, and be able to work with T3 as well.
Bailey, I'll ask you the same question. Things that you plan on working on this fall to try to improve and get better.
Oh, well, as a graduating senior, I don't have much of a season at all or any left. So I think my main focus this fall will just really be bettering my teammates. That's really all I can do, and I look forward to doing that. And every day and every practice and every lift, if I can push them to be a little bit better, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, it's such an interesting situation because, you know, a lot of people have to make personal choices going forward, you know, because you do have an extra year of eligibility, but you know, obviously using that is not simple. So it's certainly an interesting position for a lot of people. I know right now. So that's interesting. I'll ask you all this, just things that you've been able to do. I know, Jenny, you mentioned you were in Cleveland over the summer, but I'll throw it out to the three of you, things you've been able to do to try to stay in shape. Did you get creative? Were there things you were doing, you know, while we were all in quarantine, just to try to, you know, stay as in best soccer shape as you possibly could? You know, we could, you know, Jenna, start with you and kind of go down the line here, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I know we talked a little bit earlier, a lot earlier, actually, I think back in March. My situation kind of changed as I went from being in Florida with my family to being in Cleveland. I had a lot more opportunities in Cleveland to kind of be in shape and use DeSanto. So that was really nice. Once we kind of figured out our season was canceled, I tried to incorporate some more like fun workouts into my schedule. So I'd go to like spin classes and Orange Theory just to kind of like switch it up every once in a while. So that kept me going, and just like trying to work out with teammates when I could was really helpful in terms of just trying to stay in the best shape I can for this season.
Bailey, I'll turn it to you here again. Same thing, things you've done kind of to be creative, stay in shape, you know, kind of keep moving while, you know, the world has kind of stopped all of a sudden.
Well, in the beginning of this whole thing, I found some of my mom's old like exercise tapes. So I was doing like P90X on my TV. So that was an interesting experience because I've never had that before. I spent a lot of time at my high school. I haven't been back there in a while, running on the turf and the track there. So that was nice. And it was definitely different, and I enjoyed the little bit of creativity I had. But yeah, other than that, I just kind of stuck to coach's workout plan and did my best with where I was.
And Lauren, how about you? What were you able to do over the summer?
Yeah, so I was also here in Cleveland for most of the summer. And obviously Wyant was closed and everything like that. So I didn't have access to a gym for the most part. But my creative thing that I decided to do was I invested in like a 20-pound weighted vest. And so that kind of allowed me just to do some like body weight stuff and like get a little bit more out of my workout when I was doing it. And it just kind of like adds to the sweat and like everything like that. So that kind of kept me a little bit in shape and kept me motivated and stuff like that.
You know, Coach, I could see you on my screen in the corner there smiling when you're hearing these stories. And it kind of leads into my next question. And you know, maybe it's not even, you know, a question about this, but I was going to ask you about motivating, you know, keeping the team motivated when you don't necessarily have a game coming up in a week. How do you keep the team, you know, again, kind of focused on the future in the current scenario?
Well, first I have to go back because when Bailey said she got her mom's exercise tapes out, I was totally picturing Jane Fonda, but I think that just dated me a little bit. So, you know, I think that's a great question. And I think this answer is similar on any given year. That changes, you know, on a week to week, month to month basis, what the team needs in terms of motivation. I think they've done a great job of earning their own motivation. I think they put a lot of work into last season. They created some great results. And so that was a lot of motivation that got us through a really tough quarantine period, being sent home early, just okay, it's not an ideal situation, but we know what we've accomplished. We know what we want to accomplish. And I think that helped initially. I think once our season was canceled, we all found this lull, like, oh gosh, now what are we working for? What are we training towards? And we had to start focusing on the future, which I know is really hard because my heart is broken for our senior class. And I know that they're doing their best. Like Bailey said, I think it's very admirable for her to have this goal of making our program better. So there are little bits of motivation we find in each other. You know, our freshmen have come in with our first years and our transfers have come in with this outstanding energy. And even though they weren't a part of what happened last fall. I feel like they've gotten to know our team so well over the last few months that they feel a part of it, and they've brought all of this enthusiasm and excitement that's really helped reinvigorate our program a little bit in a different way. Right now, I think everybody's here because they are excited to get back on the field together. And again, I think that's motivation enough for these first few weeks. Just getting back on the field, getting together, being able to work hard, and seeing each other sweat and put the effort in is going to make a huge difference. And then I'm hoping that our on-field activities is enough now. We're going to become better players. And then hopefully our off-field activities motivate us in a different way. We want to become better people. We want to become more involved in our community and give back a bit more. And I think that's a different type of motivation. You're going to have to ask me in a month and see where we are and see what happens. But I think it's going to change consistently during these times.
Thanks again, Coach. And just a reminder, again, if you're just joining us now, this is the 2020 CWRU Fall Sports Media Day, day one. We have our women's soccer team here. And again, if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat of the YouTube video or the YouTube page, and we'll be asking any questions as they come up. Jen, I want to turn kind of a question to you for off the soccer field. You're the president of CASA, the Case Association of Student Athletes, and I believe, and if I'm not mistaken, you were also on the COVID Action Committee for the school. And if you can you share a little bit of that experience with us and what that was like? Because I think as a student to be involved in that is really a unique thing. And if you wouldn't mind sharing kind of just some general thoughts on that experience and having the chance to be a part of that as the planning to come back and the return to school and in the fall was taking place over the summer.
Yeah, so that was a really unique opportunity for me. And one thing I didn't really expect to be a part of, but was just an incredible opportunity. As I said, I got to play a role in all the meetings that we had weekly and then kind of choose our second representative for that as well. So yeah, I got to meet with a bunch of the doctors, trainers, obviously Amy Backus, our AD, and kind of do a whole run through of what this year would have looked like with the UAA season and how that whole plan kind of changed and just how everything was continuously changing as we went on throughout the months that we worked on it. So it was really great for them to include that student perspective. And I was just thrilled to be able to add to the conversation as well and kind of speak on behalf of the student athletes, because there were so many questions, obviously, that came up throughout that entire conversation. And these are matters that we're still meeting on throughout the fall. And as we try to continue into like some realm of normalcy in the next, I don't know, however long it might take. But yeah, just to be able to contribute to that was an awesome opportunity and something I look forward to continuing to doing in the coming months.
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize off the bat the complexity of some of the issues that, it's you solve one problem and then three others pop up. And so interesting to be able to see that side of it for sure. I do want to keep this with the three players here and ask you, because I believe you're all back on campus at this point and you're all taking classes. And if you don't mind sharing a little bit, just kind of your thoughts on the first week being on campus and your experience there. I think a lot of people are hearing about college campuses right now from a perspective on how it's being reported or what's going on. And obviously each campus is a little different, but just want to get your thoughts on being on campus through the first week or so of classes. Bailey, we could start with you on that.
So first of all, I'm very grateful to be on campus. I'm glad I have the opportunity to be back and to get to play soccer and attend my one class a week that's in person. Just being back on campus so far has been great. I've seen a lot of people that I haven't seen, socially distanced, of course. But it's hard to stay in a room for quite a bit of time. So I've been trying to switch up my study spots from like little outdoor benches to back into my room to anywhere I can find a place. I think it's just really about adapting and enjoying your experience and being grateful that you have it, because a lot of people don't.
For sure. Lauren, how about you? How's your experience been so far?
Yeah, so I also only have one class that's in person on campus. But I think I live with like 6 other athletes in my house. So we all study and get all of our stuff done together in the house and try to find or go outside and find places that we can study and everything. But overall, I'm just really glad that Case has been able to get this together and kind of have everybody be able to be here in whatever fashion that we were able to. And I'm also really glad that I feel like people are being safe and doing their best to stay safe and make it so we're allowed to stay here for the rest of the semester.
And Jenna, your thoughts on being back on campus?
Yeah. First, I just want to echo what Bailey said about the fact that it's just an awesome opportunity to be back here. I mean, there's like no place I'd rather be in the fall or during the school year than Case and Cleveland. And also just the fact that so many people have worked so hard for us to get back on campus this year, and like their efforts are so incredible, and you can see it every day when you're on campus, like everything that the staff is doing. So I think that's phenomenal. And I think that the appreciation is definitely there from the students, which is really cool. I have 2 classes in person, so one every day, which is kind of nice because I get to switch up my scenery almost in like a very natural way, which is nice. And yeah, I live with 2 other soccer players too. So that's been kind of nice having that just general support system and having those people constantly surrounding me with so much positivity and just support in my everyday life has been awesome, even though I haven't necessarily been as social outside of my house as maybe I would have liked to be during this time. That definitely makes the transition into this like COVID school year easier.
Well, thank you all again for joining us, Coach. I'm going to give you the last word here before we sign off. Again, just final thoughts on the team and the situation, and you know, kind of your hopes going forward for this group, which you can see is very motivated and excited. But your thoughts on them and again, everything going on.
I guess my final thoughts would just be that I'm super proud of these women for everything that they're enduring and how well they've adapted to our situation. And it's changed, you know, daily and weekly for the last 5 months. So I'm just really proud of them for the effort that they're putting in, the work they're putting in, and the way that they've come together as a team. I think our first years and transfers feel very, very welcomed, even though we haven't even been able to meet as a team or get together in large groups. I think they've proven their commitment and their motivation with all of the things that they're doing without coaches enforcing it right now. They're going out in tiny groups or on their own, and they're getting workouts in, and they're touching a ball, and they're excited to be here. So I just have all the hope in the world for this team going forward, and making the most of our time together while we are on campus. And fingers crossed, we get to stay here all semester and we get to train consistently throughout that time. But we're going to make the most of every minute we get together, because we can't take it for granted. And we've talked about being thankful and grateful a lot this past year. I think our current situation has proven the fact that we can't take these moments for granted. So every practice, we're going to put as much effort as we can into it, get the most out of it, really come together as a program and as a team, and hopefully come out better on the other side. We're looking forward to 2021, but we're not going to pass up 2020, regardless of how awful some of it has been. There's still a lot that we can do to make it a positive adventure. So that's our plan for this year. And I'm very appreciative of all of the players in our program, all the families and the friends that have really supported us during this time and going forward, and really looking forward to just setting new records in 2021.
Coach, thank you again. And thank you to Jenna, Bailey, and Lauren for joining us today. Really interesting to hear your thoughts and on what's been going on. We'll have this archived, so it's going to be posted on athletics.case.edu the morning after. So it'll be up starting Tuesday morning. Media Day will continue tomorrow, when we will have the Case Western Reserve University football team. That's at 3:00. Coach Debelak, along with Travis Johnston, Colt Morgan, and Joshua Smith will be joining us. Also, make sure to go to athletics.case.edu and participate in the Athlete of the Decade contest, where you get to vote on some of the best athletes over the course of the last 10 years at Case Western Reserve University. So a lot going on, and we look forward to it all. Once again, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today, and best of luck going forward this fall and with your training.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having us.
Okay, take care, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow for the second Media Day. Have a good evening, everyone.